but my primary focus is Wrath of Kings and Dark Age. And today we are going to get to talk about where we've. Oh, and this is Dave Taylor. God, anybody who knows me, I'm worse about introductions, so I'll just let him do him.
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Dave Taylor, marketing guy with the CMON miniatures team.
Mm-hmm.
So.
He also is my personal my personal friend that keeps me in line when I start to run off of the mouth. So if he does that little like presidential, it's because I'm if I get a quick jab and I go, oh okay, no, never mind. It's because Dave is reminding me that I'm talking too much. Because I have no concept of too much information. It's just I just keep rolling. And see, there it is. So today we are going to be talking about what we've done recently with Wrath of Kings and Dark Age and where we plan to be going with it in the future. Both lines have been with us for a couple of years, and some more than others, and we're doing some pretty awesome stuff.
Oh, you skipped it.
I did?
You skipped it. Yeah.
What I did not.
How do I go back? There you go.
Oh, there we go. Not great at PowerPoint either. So what we're going to talk about today, right now, is...
First off, I'll jump in and take this one.
Yeah, absolutely. This is more your department than mine. Anyway.
One of the things I wanted to put up front, knowing that I was going to be going out to a few different media streams, but basically we're really excited to have UK and EU distribution again through Geocache. They're a distributor out of Spain, so very excited to be getting... that we'll be able to get products nice and easily into European stores and UK stores now that they're going to be separate, perhaps. And we also have a Russian distributor that we're working with, Geek War. So we're excited about that too. We've got a lot of great community leaders out there that are giving a great push for Wrath of Kings and Dark Age around the world. As I say there, we're talking with some different community leaders as well to translate Dark Age into a few different languages. Igor Ivanov in Russia.
I was going to say shout out to Igor. He's we wouldn't have the Russian distributor if it wasn't for some of his input. So thank you, Igor, because I know you're watching.
Yep. We have a few other folks who are going to be working on some Spanish, I think, possibly Portuguese. I'd like to get a French version. I think French. We haven't spoken to Rich yet, Rich Lebond. But yeah, we're excited about that as well. So it's other areas of growth for Dark Age and Wrath of Kings.
Yeah. As for it being translated issues and go ahead and publish those products, that is yet to be determined. But we definitely want to make sure that it's an online resource for these the non-English speaking countries that are now playing our game, because it is becoming way more widespread across the seas. Seas
Around the world.
Around the world. I write a lot in fiction, and so the across the seas sounds far more fluid. It's an ocean joke.
You and your fluids.
Nice.
And as Brian mentioned before, so we'll be looking at what we've done over the last year, what we're working towards, and we'll also ask if you'd like to see some cool models.
Yeah, nobody comes here to see cool stuff.
Cool models.
Yeah. So what we've achieved over the last year, for Wrath of Kings specifically, we're going to start with Wrath of Kings and we'll move into Dark Age later. The big thing is that we've got it out to the public. It had a very successful Kickstarter, and there was a lot of hubbub about it for a while. And then it took us a little, to gain some momentum, and we're getting there again. It's definitely showing it. Some of these conventions that we've gone to. Pictured here, I believe that is
LVO,
the Las Vegas Open, which did amazingly well for us as far as getting it out there and getting people excited about the game, because it's a great game, and its only drawback right now is there's a lot of people out there that are like, I haven't had a chance to play it yet. Well, we're going to rectify that.
Yep. One of the other things, releasing Rising Conflicts Book 2 gave us the opportunity, of course, to release more units for every faction, but also just to go back and clean up some of the language, tighten some things up. I think, as Michael said last year when we were looking at the Hadros, for example, the changes we made to those, that was a sort of an improvement of living standards for Hadros players. So looking at that sort of thing, and also adding hobby articles to the website.
Getting people excited about the minis again.
Something we hadn't been doing, and we'll be doing more of.
You know, one of the things that all of you guys understand, and most of you, probably personally understand, is dead air is awful. And we don't want any of that. We want people to constantly be going, hey, that's a cool model. I haven't seen that. Even if it's a model that came out 6 months ago and we show you a new way to paint it or a new way to use it on the board, that's exactly what we're going to try and keep people going about the game.
Yep.
I'm going to hit this space bar now.
Please.
We've gotten to the point now, with the help of distribution and with cleaning up a lot of the warehouse issues, we are getting to the point where our retailers out there, the distributors out there that carry the product, can actually pre-order these boxes. Last month, we actually had a store contact us and say, thank you so much, because we were able to have our stuff on the shelves for street date. And I know that doesn't seem like a big deal, but that's a huge point of impact for us to make sure that people out there that might not want to order, online, they can trust that we're working toward making sure that your stores and your distributors have it to, hey, check out this new cool thing, at the same time that we say, check out this new cool thing.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Other things we did, working with Warsenal to create the objectives and markers pack. We'll be doing some more work with them, getting some faction-specific packs. I think they have some up already on their website, on the Warsenal site, and we'll have even more coming through in the coming year.
I think in some of our
months.
videos we've used some of the faction-specific objective tokens and things, and those are all made by Warsenal. So, yay for Warsenal! They do good stuff for us.
Great stuff. And last year as well, we were able to put out the first 2 organized play kits, which have been going out to stores, out to conventions, and people have been enjoying the bits and pieces there. We'd like to look at adding another one to that stable, maybe 2, with the possibility of adding in cards like we've done for the swag bag here at Expo.
Yeah, the alternate ways to use your existing models. I know there's a lot of room for us to increase that on a design standpoint, is ways for you to be more excited about things you might have had for a while. And I want to add in some cool scenarios, because we've got, we're doing the Battle of Ravenswood scenario here at Expo. More of that kind of stuff, where it's like, hey, this is the army you should take, this is the army you should take, or here's the rough levels, and this is the neat thing. You're not just always, bashing heads. Alternate motivation cards, stuff that might be a little more tailored to a fun game. That's the kind of stuff that we want to get out there for the stores to be able to use.
Yep.
And for the players to start to use.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Speaking of...
Well, there we go. That was me jumping ahead. My apologies.
Yeah. You look good in purple.
Yep.
So that's not a weird reference, by the way. Look closely at the slide. It's an Easter egg in there. So we have talked about doing really cool kind of terrain kits for Wrath of Kings, because it is such a really deep, interesting world with unique landscapes, and some of that background art that you see in the Rising Conflicts book. That just begs for people to make terrain boards and pieces of terrain. So Dave talked to some companies, and we're thinking about it.
Yep. We've been chatting with the guys at Foreground, who do great work, great basically pre-painted laser cut MDF, and they've got a sort of great distribution network around the world as well. So we're going to try and make it nice and easy for people to be able to pick it up wherever in the world they happen to be playing. So Foreground is up there. We'll talk with Warsenal as well, and a couple other guys we'd like to talk to too.
Yeah, there's a lot of avenues out there of people who do really, really good work, and the more the merrier.
Yep.
And then, so something that, again, we were talking about the OP kits and ways to get people interested in the game, and it's always been organized play has always been very big in stores. If you can get a decent stable of players started up and started to think about the game, and build their army as they go, it's a way to make sure that it stays fresh in everybody's mind. especially when we have monthly, bi-monthly releases that give us an opportunity to kind of spotlight certain things along the way. And one of the organized play styles that has already shown an amazing. There's a few stores actually in this general vicinity that our lovely Raymond Rappaport has been testing the idea of a slow grow league, and we're going to get him to write down the specifics, and we're going to do a much more structured version of it. But it's a fantastic way, especially with a game that is as kind of gradually growing and scaling up that Wrath of Kings is, that we can easily make a really cool way for, here's this PDF thing that's on our website that you can take to your store and say, hey, if you get the starter boxes in, we can start this slow grow league and work our way up.
Providing more resources really is what we're looking to do for store owners and local champions, community champions to.
It's the less wordy way of what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine was more flourishy.
It was. I was just editing.
Yeah. I want you to talk about this.
Okay. As I said before, we'd like to add another organized play kit or two. We've also been talking with Army Painter. CMON has a good history, a good relationship with the Bo and Jonas at Army Painter. As you see, we've got some box sets sort of designed up there. We've talked to them about possibility of putting these together. The idea would be the basic set gives you those standard basic colors, and then all the faction-specific ones build on top of that core set, so there are no doubles throughout the range of pieces, but everything builds on top of it to give you a look similar to the color schemes we presented sort of for the studio miniatures.
Kind of the stock photo kind of thing.
So we've got to go back to them now and talk to them about the list of colors and so on, but hopefully we'll see those later this year.
So now is the part of the Wrath of Kings section that I ask you this cool question. You guys want to see some models?
Yeah.
Cool. So pictured here is one of my favorites and one of my personal favorites and two of my favorites that I don't play with. We have the Imminid Kraken, which is the horrible squid monster off to the left, that is easily one of our largest models that we make in the line, and terrifyingly spiky. I love it.
And on the right, we've got the Izari Warhounds for Nasir. Do we have any Nasir players? Yes, there we go. Cool. If you're around, excellent. I know O'Brien likes these. Why these are his favorites?
I don't play Nasir, but they're one of my favorite models because it's got dogs with masks. That's so cool. If you know the faction fluff, that all of them wear these like demon-infused masks. I love the fact that they give them to their dogs. They're like, it's not they're not just war gear. It's like, here, demon dog. I love it. I love them.
They are nice.
Ooh.
So these are for Shael Han. These are the Paragons of Wrath. The models look very cool, but the coolest thing for me about them as game-wise is they're the first specialists we've released with a keyword. So they have keyword children, so they can group activate with
Wraths and Big
Wraths
Sisters.
and Big Sisters.
Yeah.
So,
and they're mighty. And if you look real close on the female version, she's wearing Kiss boots. Like, like she's got those giant platform boots. And I'm like, I just want to paint one up.
Yep.
Paint all four of them up Kiss style.
Yep.
It's all about cool models, and that is a tiny little bit of that cool model. It's like dogs with masks.
In all of our run-throughs, you've never said that.
I saved it for now.
Good work. Good work.
And then so we got a couple of the cool Technus characters. The flight captain of, or no, that's the, what's his name?
You have to. He's the general.
It's the ogre guy is the one.
Molotov.
There, I was in Molotov, and he's the first one of his kind.
Yep.
We have not done any other of that species in Technus. And then the character version of the Bombardiers, which I'm completely spacing his name right now. I keep wanting to call him the flight captain, but he's not.
Yep.
Oh.
You've got me.
Swiss cheese brain. Told you.
Yep.
All right. So now that we've talked about Wrath of Kings and shown you some cool stuff.
Wait.
Oh, wait.
One more.
One more? Oh, there's one more.
Okay. These are the Damani Mesmers. I know that a lot of people have been waiting for these.
Mm-hmm.
Have the belly dancing vampires to the left, which are rank 2 infantry. That when they deploy, they also deploy a thrall with them. You don't pay any ranks for the thralls, and they also don't count towards your army morale.
Yeah, so basically you just get spare models to do stuff with because they get to hang out with the belly dancing gypsy vampires.
And basically act as bodyguards for them.
Yeah. So. And they clobber you with giant ball and chain, which is always a plus.
Yep. And now
we get to move over into Dark Age. This is something that I have a particularly great stake in because we've really focused a lot on this game in the last 6 to 8 months to bring it into all of your hearts and minds. Which is our first our little bullet point there. It's a massive increase in exposure. It's a game that has been around for a long time. And it's gone through some ups and downs. And last year, without exception, I can say that it is ups, ups, ups. There has not been a single month that we haven't seen more sales or more increases. As far as people contacting us about, hey, my store wants to get it. Things are looking really, really good for Dark Age. And I can't say enough for a lot of you guys out there, and a lot of you guys out there that are watching and listening to these streams. Is that it's because of you guys. Anytime that you've got a product that is good, a story that is well told and is out there, you guys are out there on the Facebook pages, your various stories for your armies. That means the world to us, and it is showing. It's showing that it's making a difference. So thank you guys for helping us out with that. We've done a couple of really cool hobby articles on how to paint things in the Dark Age line. Sometimes we've done we got the ones from the actual studio painters on how they did some of their effects on some of the models.
Sergio Calvo Rubio and Jose at Big Child have provided us with some articles along the way for some really nice high-end stuff.
There's this other painter guy who occasionally posts stuff up, not nearly as often as he should. About other neat things to do with your different paint schemes and things. And he recently promised us that there will be more.
There will be more.
Yeah.
There will be more. Now that we're finished preparing for Expo, I can get back to painting some more toy soldiers. So that'll be good. One of the other great things that I've been excited about being able to do is seeing a lot of great stuff coming from around the community. So being able to tag guys and say, how did you make that table? How did you paint your core? Ask them to write up articles and provide photos and that sort of thing. So that's been another great thing that we've been able to add to it that we'll just continue to do during over the next year.
Yeah, and I know it's not necessarily hobby related, but the community itself is so strong and so awesome. In fact, actually on one of our Facebook pages today, someone wrote up about 500 word, I want to use the term diatribe, but that seems almost negative, about how amazing people were in the Dark Age community because he didn't have the right models for the tournament tomorrow. He lost his cards. His transit to get to Expo was such a hard one, and the community stepped up in our national tournament that has easily the best industry prize that you can get in miniatures. The community rose up and was like, no, we want you here, we want you to play, and they supplied him with minis, they got him the cards he needed, and I'm like, you don't hear that anywhere else. And so I've got to say, thank you again for making this community amazing. And that all that does is help people want to come and play the game. When they see, bitter rivals laughing and having a great time, or, you're fighting for the ability to make a model in the game that you play. And no, I would like to help you be able to, I would, even if you end up beating me with these models, I want you to play. And that's awesome. So thank you very, very much, everybody out there who's helping making this community as cool as it is.
Yep. Excellent.
Oh yeah, there's another bullet point there.
Oh.
I forgot it.
There it is.
I got all psyched up about our community. I forgot about releases, business stuff.
That's okay. We can go on.
Similar to what we said with Wrath of Kings, is Dark Age is in the past there was a lot of downtime between releases. That we would here's a handful of minis, or here's a ton of minis. We've now set it up where we've got a steady set of monthly access. Your store can go, this is the stuff I want. Speaking of which, if you're out there and listening and you're a store, email me, brian@cmon.com. We have actually set up a retail aspect that you can see things ahead of time of when things are coming, which has been sometimes an issue in the past. So it is no longer an issue. Achieved stuff.
Yep.
I'm going to let you handle this first one because this was your brainchild.
Okay. We created some organized play kits for Dark Age as well, at the same time as we did the Wrath of Kings kits. Part of that was creating mainly because we had the Immortals tournament and there was something that we could hang it around. I wanted to take that immersion into the world a little bit further. So adding in the blood gelt to the organized play kits. So something that if you play in a tournament, you play in a campaign, you play in a slow grow league in your local store, you could win a blood gelt at the end, and that blood gelt would be your ticket into the Immortals tournament. The blood gelt being this cool
this metal stamped ingot.
Yep, metal ingot that's
big square coin that would be hard to hard to carry around if you had a bunch of it.
Yep. So we wanted to make it sort of very cool. They all have the number 517 on it, but each one of them is completely unique. They're hand cast at my buddy Thomas's place. Thanks, Thomas. And we cast 280 of them, I think, in the course of a very long evening. But yeah, they're all nice and unique. But we're super excited about those. Later on today for the Immortals tournament, we'll be taking a hammer to them.
Yep.
Everybody's blood gelt.
So as a way to even further immerse people into the Dark Age world so we thought about it and we were like, so how would you be able to kind of verify that your money is legit? And so we've decided that they stamp them in the world. If you've spent it, if it's done, they stamp it and it's done deal. So I arranged, much to the chagrin of the warehouse, I arranged for a piece of a railroad chunk of railroad track to be turned into an anvil and sent to the warehouse. And then I got an old smithing hammer, and they're both here. And today, before Immortals, anybody who is playing in Immortals, I'm going to personally, until my arm gets tired, stamp your blood gelt. The way this not only does this is a neat moment and it's a thing for people to I guarantee when I start hitting that railroad tie, people in the board game section of our convention are going to be like, "What is going on over there?" Because it's going to sound like I'm making armor. And
that reminds me, I'll have to warn them.
Yeah, but by the way, so this is also a way for us to show whether or not, because we're planning on using these blood gelt to get people into the events, and they're still out there in the OP kits, they're still out there in the world. We still want people to start challenging each other for their gelt, make them as challenge coins, and this is a way for us to know whether or not it has been used at a tournament, at an Immortals tournament. What we're going to do is, because this is a newer aspect of things, is a blood gelt can be stamped twice. So this year, and this is the first time we're announcing this to anyone, I think? No. More or less.
I leaked it a little bit on Facebook yesterday,
okay.
But anyway.
This is the first live time we're saying it. Yep. Saying it live. Is you're going to be able to stamp something twice. So anybody out there who's got a gelt now, who stamps it this weekend for this Immortals, they're going to be able to come back next year. We want this game to be big. We want the Immortals to be huge, and this is a way for us to basically say, hey, thanks for being a part of kind of the Dark Age resurgence, which sounds like a book title.
It does.
Okay.
Resurgence, next book title.
Next book title. All right, write that down. Which then moves us into another way that we've been able to keep people excited and happy about Dark Age. The older format we used to do is one book a year, similar to a lot of other games and companies. And this this does not do in the digital age. You have to keep people more excited about things. And so what we've been doing is about every 6-8 months or so, kind of between book releases, we do a web document that updates or adds to one of the factions. We've done the Kukukani. They got their new coat of paint back in...
that was August last year.
Thank you.
No worries.
And then we did the core. We updated the core who desperately needed it. And so far it's been a big success. Everybody seems to like the direction we went with them. And that was back in December. And so this gives us an opportunity. Oh, and then as of yesterday, we put out the beginning rules for the Earthcast as a web document. And it gives us a chance to further the story a little bit without being like this giant 80,000 word book. It gives us a little bit of extra story. It gives us a way to update the rules for things that need it, and introduce a handful of new models at a time.
Yep.
What else have we done? So the big thing that everyone was really psyched about and still psyched about is the Path to Glory 2-player starter set. Again, anything that makes it easier for players to get into the game, to get them psyched and get them in, this is a perfect thing. And it's our first time that we've done a plastic kit.
Yep.
For plastic models.
For Dark Age.
For Dark Age, yeah. And because it is such a very large line with a lot of products involved, there is not a move right now to move it to plastic. I don't want people to say, oh, they're starting to make plastic models, so the whole line's going that way. That is not the case. We would love to be able to at some point, but that's right now the plan is we keep making good models. We don't try and reinvent the wheel, but plastic is something that we'd like to look into.
Yep. One of the other things that we've done, if you've been anybody who's been into the booth here at CMON Expo, will have seen all of the new unit box sets that we've got out. So you can see one picture there, the Doomseers. We're moving the range to box sets because it's easier for retailers and for distributors to carry. It's helps new players with a lot of sensible choices. Things that we've done like the sub-faction boxes for Forsaken. If you're interested in getting into St. Mark, rather than going, okay, I need to get this blister, this blister, this blister, and the other one that might be out of stock at the moment, we've got all of those together in a single box for a price that's better than the combined blisters, which makes it easier for retailers to be able to say, oh, St. Mark, here's what you need to buy. Because it's the way that people buy St. Mark or any of the sub-factions. Yeah. So the other thing that's helped us to do is we had quite a lot of blisters. We had almost 300 blisters in the range. Retailers not a big fan of blisters at the moment, and also certainly not a big fan of 300 codes on the wall. It makes it super tough for them to stock. You'll notice we're talking about retailers quite a bit, and it's because having a game in retail stores is the way that community champions out there can help the community grow. Yeah. Have the product in the stores, play the game in the stores, and get excited about it. Yeah. So this will help us dramatically.
Yes.
Dramatically.
The only one. Yes.
So sitting next to you for too long. Dramatically reduce the number of codes. So we're very excited about that. It'll be much easier for stores to be able to stock the product, and therefore for distributors as well to be able to put those out into the world.
One of the goals that personally for us in the line is by Gen Con we want to have a faction starter, because we did several new style faction starters, these smaller boxes that are all $60 no matter what's inside of them, and they're all 500 points. So that way, your average player goes, I'm at this show. I'm thinking about this game. What do I have to do to get in? And it's like buying point $60. This is your buy-in. Well, what else do I need to get? If you just want to play 500 points, you got it. We're planning these boxes out specifically the 500 point price or 500 point level, $60 price point, easy peasy, and it gives us an opportunity to tell a new retail store or maybe a new gaming club that's trying to get into it that we can then, once we get everybody, hopefully by August, up to having all of the faction starters for all of the factions and the sub-factions for Dragiri, because they run a little different.
Yep.
But to put together some kind of like special package, some kind of launch kit that's like, all right, you as a store, if you want to get this, get into this program, you're like, I don't know. Be like, all right, here's this deal. Here's your faction starters. Let's start with that. And if you want to add more stuff, cool. So the unit boxes are going to be the best way for us to do that, because we don't have to look at somebody and be like, oh, do you have a peg wall? Do you have a way for you can set up 150 blisters? This is, they're small boxes, and they can be bookended if you really, you have a lot of stuff and you don't have a lot of shelf space. They're amazing. They're fantastic, and they were a great idea that I will not take credit for. That was an idea that came on before I really kind of did stuff.
Yep.
That was you?
Yep.
All right. Well, it was this guy. See? Idea guy. So what we are working on, so we were just talking about the boxes. There is still a lot of blistered product in some of the older factions. It is no secret that we are slowly re-sculpting all of the older models into a newer format,
newer aesthetic.
A newer aesthetic, thank you. The game's been around a while. Some of those models are looking a little dated. They still look cool. They're just not what a lot of newer gamers are into. So as you can tell by the new scarred grafter there with her creepy clawy hand, that we are trying to re-sculpt everything. Everything that we believe that requires it. There's still some of those old models still hold up, and we're going to hang on to them. Yep. But because we're doing these re-sculpts, it gives us an opportunity to re-sculpt and then take those guys and put them in a box. Get them out of the blisters into the box, out of the blisters into the box. And so as the re-sculpts happen, you will see blisters start to fall off of the web store. I talk with my hands, so if this distracts you, you're in the wrong panel. So pull things off of the web store, and then suddenly these boxes start to pop up. And this will give us an opportunity to slowly create the entire range in this newer format with also newer miniatures. Also,
so around the time of the Forsaken book release, we had the first Dark Age Chronicles document go up. It's still on the website at the moment, which ran through a number of different scenarios connected with the different saints that were presented in the Forsaken book. What we've got here in the swag bag for everybody at Expo, we had a printed version of this. The PDF version will be going up online this coming week, which is basically another Chronicles mini campaign approach. This is a four scenario campaign following the tribulations of St. John as he heads from New Ashkelon down to the the Blackmire and back. What we're hoping to do, well, actually we have in the works, we have another one being written at the moment to cover or sort of take place. It
takes place kind of in the middle, right before the events of the Scarred book. So the author has been well briefed on where that book is taking things. So the next Chronicles to be released right around the same time as the Scarred book will be a kind of a taste test for people that want to get in and be like, wait, what's going on? What's Mary doing? Oh no.
Who?
Oh, who?
Spoiler alert. No, and we're also throwing ideas for the one to follow. But we think this is a cool format to help people go back and look at their collection activity in stores again. It's a great opportunity for everybody around the world to be playing the same type of games at the same time, so that there's be conversation online about it. We're excited about taking what was a cool format that was presented the first time and continuing to evolve that and sort of push it forward.
Well, and it gives us an opportunity also to, all of the scenarios all the mission scenarios and stuff that we put together for the game are, in our mind, designed to be completely fair and balanced and set up for tournament play, or at least like that, event play. This gives us an opportunity to look at someone and say, hey, how about you play a 600-point game versus an 800-point game, and this guy's got a different deployment zone? Or, here's your 300 points. You're not here to kill anybody. You're just trying to get through his 750-point army out off to the other side. Other ways to play the game that aren't necessarily designed to be completely fair and balanced, but designed to be fun and story-driven. That's what these Chronicles books are designed for.
Yep.
Or Chronicles files, because this is the only one that's a booklet thus far.
Yep.
So earlier we mentioned stuff about the web update. Yesterday, the Earthcast web update went up. That is just a couple of so in our story, the Earthcast is just now waking up. They're rubbing the sleep out of their eyes. They're waking up and they're, frankly, they're pissed off about what's going on. And they've been asleep for a long time, so the world is a different place. And there's still a lot of that cast still buried in their little hibernation chambers. There will be more Earthcast to come, just not yet. This is a way for us to use the web updates. This is the first time that we've introduced a new sub-faction piecemeal. We're kind of giving it because every other sub-faction we've done has either been in a book or here's this giant, all-in-one, this is what you've got. This is a way for us to kind of give people taste tests, see what they feel about it, while we design, more stuff and keep everybody happy rather than, yay, Dragiri! What's up with my brood? Yay, Dragiri! This gives us a little bit here and there. Say again. It's all about hand motions.
It is exactly about that.
We've got some other ones planned in the very short future. I talked about here the Ajax Exoframe and the Hanyul Ranger. The Hanyul Ranger is actually a new officer for the Hanyuls, and because it is a generic or an unaligned Forsaken. Sorry, I'm not supposed to use the generic term because it's got negative connotations. An unaligned Forsaken model, so any Forsaken army can use it. And because of this new web update unit box thing, I can just basically put out one box. The cards are in there. We change the update, or change the file online for where the cards are, and bam, you got a new model. And that's some of the stuff that we want to eventually get to. That I don't have to wait for a book. I don't have to wait for the giant web update. I can go, here's this cool model that we got made. Let's put this out. Let's further things along for this unit, or for this army, so they don't feel left out. They don't have to wait 5 years for new stuff. The Ajax Exoframe, however, is one born out of the community. When we started talking about the Path to Glory box last year, telling people what's going to be in it, some voices got raised. They were like, well, that's a box that's got the character version, this 200-point character of Isaac in it. And that means that this starter set, I really only ever need to buy one, because the Ajax Power Suit was a singular model. You could only ever have one in your army. We heard you, and we did some playtesting and got things moving to create a non-unique version of the Ajax.
The Ajax suit. Yeah.
It is a lesser version. It's a lesser pointed version. There's a little bit of story that's going to go up at the same time that it does. There's a big chunk of the story in the Scarred book that have to deal with them. But it basically says that a cache of the old ones were put together, but now that... Should I spoil it? Okay, I'm being poked. So basically it's an alternate way of running the Exoframe, that way you can use that plastic guy that came in the Path to Glory kit. It's the reason why if you look at our web store right now, the Ajax box is not on there, because next month in June, we're going to release the Ajax box, and it comes with both stat cards. So it comes with the character card, and then it comes with this alternate way to run it.
So if you don't buy the Path to Glory box set, that's fine. If you just want to get Isaac and his Ajax suit, you can just buy the box, still have the card in there.
And if you don't,
flexibility.
And if you don't want to buy another Ajax suit, the card's going to also go online. Just like anything else that we do, the rules themselves are going to be in the download. So you'll be able to go to the Forsaken cards, go to St. Isaac, and go, oh, hey, Exoframe, awesome.
The second card, would that be included in Path to Glory in future runs? Because obviously I understand you have inventory that exists.
Probably. I don't see where that would be a problem.
I think we'll have to talk that through.
Yeah, I was going to say,
at this point, we haven't talked it through.
Yeah. The other thing is, like you said, there's an inventory issue that getting to the reprint would be. Now, if we get to the reprint, that might just be a celebratory awesome thing anyway. So let's work on that first.
It's when we get to that. There's no if. Yeah. It's when.
This is why I have him. We were talking earlier about the organized play kits for Wrath of Kings. Well, the organized play kits for Dark Age have done amazingly well. The Blood Gelt, the on-hold tokens from Arsenal, those things have they've done great in the stores, and there's just more that we want to make. We've got at least 2 in mind that we want to put together to kind of create some of these stores. We've heard from a few of the store event organizers that they've been like, oh, okay, I've run like 6 events and I've kind of burnt through the OP kits, and most of my players have got a little bit of everything. So we want to make more. We want to keep that going and keep people happy and keep moving.
Put something new.
Put something new and fancy in each one, so that way there's a reason for people to want to get a hold of them and hopefully compete for the stuff inside. So we were talking about, we've got a lot of things planned out in the future. We've got like the next like 18 months of Dark Age already set down. We know what we want to do. So Scarred Book, we've already talked that it's going to happen very shortly. It's going to be Gen Con 2018 or 2017. Why are you poking? I'm getting there. So the next book, no, I'm good. The next book that we got planned after Scarred is the Brood book, but that's all the way until August of 2018. So that's a full year and a half to wait for that book. So we made the executive decision to go ahead and do the playtesting and get it done and make a set of beta rules for the existing Brood line, rather than introducing a bunch of new models. Just basically introduce new rules for the existing models, and we're going to release that in July. I was gonna say this summer, but I didn't know whether or not we actually wrote it, so I was like,
Yep, we gave ourselves a deadline.
Yes, we gave ourselves a deadline. So they're gonna be released out to the public, and they're gonna become official in July. And then that means that you will have these new rules to play with your Brood while we are re-sculpting the Brood line. That's gonna be an uphill climb to go ahead and re-sculpt, but it's something that you'll have the rules for in hand digitally to be able to play with anything, no matter which version of the model you've got. And that web update, we already talked about that, so shown there is the first of the Sawblade re-sculpts, one of the original Dark Age models from over a decade ago. We've re-sculpted them in the new aesthetic of the terrifying swamp monster Brood. Yep. Am I ready to push it? Yeah. Yep. Speaking of Scarred Book,
there we go.
This is why I got booked. So there is the first time we've shown the cover of the Scarred Book without some of the extra. This is just the art part, showing Papa Joe, Father Johann for folks who don't know the vernacular, kind of relaxing in his throne, and that is a very big that cover art is an extremely important point of the story of the Scarred Book. See, I got. That's why you're here. So, in the Scarred Book, just like anything else we've done, we do a big revamp. We update all the rules. We try and bring things back into the general rules balance that we've got going on at the moment. And we always like to introduce new stuff.
Yep.
And so this time around, the story just kind of demanded for it. If you've read the Forsaken book and the Dragiri book, you might have seen some hints and of the future. And the Scarred Book reveals the first time we've done a brand new cult in a handful of years. This has been probably 6 years, I think. The Cult of Decay. A little bit more on the Cult of Decay later on, but they're awesome. Speaking of Scarred and other things with Dark Age, I mentioned that we aren't moving completely to plastic, but we do want to do more plastic stuff. I wanted to be able to show you some things, but I don't have them, so I can't reveal it yet. But there is a really cool kit that is going to be coming out at some point in another plastic kit that I think a lot of people are going to pick up. Probably people that aren't even necessarily Dark Age players.
Yep.
So some of the renders of the Earthcast, that their rules came out yesterday in the web update. We've got, and these are the actual, these are the renders, and I've seen now the painted models. I got the email yesterday, so it didn't get into the PowerPoint, but they are perfect translations. Like this is what you're seeing here is exactly what the model looks like. On the far left, we have the Pillar, who is, I like to say that he's basically a Dragiri MMA fighter. He does not fight with weapons. He is a clobberin tank. And as the name suggests, he stands still and says, no one, this is where I'm going to be. He's got a really cool psychogenic power that allows him to put up a little bubble around him that if you move within 2 inches of him, you may not move outside of 2 inches of him. Or be moved outside of 2 inches of him. So if someone clobbers you, does a blast, does a knockback, they will stop at that little 2-inch wall. He will not let you out of the octagon.
That's called center of gravity, is that right?
It is called center of gravity. In the middle there, we have the Fisher, who is part of a subset of the Earthcast called the Daughters of the Mountain. And they are an all-feminine unit of meteor hammer swinging kind of guardians. They move up, they take a spot and say, "This is my area. Do not come within 4 or 5 inches of me, or I'm going to clobber you and send you flying." And then on the end there, we've got the Quake. He is he's really kind of a bodyguard beat stick. They stick close to their superiors. They take the hits, and they got that new stone skin ability. Excuse me.
I didn't even poke you.
No, my lung stopped.
Okay.
I got so excited. So the Quakes have that new stone skin ability, but they also have guard. So they can say, "Hey, no, hit me, hit me, hit me," and then depending on what happens with stone skin, they might just shrug off the damage. It's a very cool model, and as you can tell, he's got a grumpy face. Now, on the back of the pillar, I don't have a rear shot of him. I didn't know this was until I saw the painted one. There's a bunch of awesome like scars and lashes and things that from him because they're scrappers and all they do is wreck face all day long. So it shows a bunch of battle damage and stuff on his back, and so it's very cool. So we were talking about re-sculpts, and speaking of Dragiri, so we've got some re-sculpts that are coming out shortly. We've got the Aircast Tempest. These are all, these first three are actually just one pose of two that are going to be in the uniboxes for them. We've got the Aircast Tempest, the Icecast Soul Splitter, and the Icecast Frostbite. Those guys, if you look back at their old models, they still, I still use my old Soul Splitter. They're still great models, but these new ones have got so much more energy and so much more like little things. There's a lot of guys that have like little, like you look at the Frostbite, he's got like a little trophy hanging off of his belt. There's a couple of that have like some of those jawbones hanging off of like the back of their bandolier because in the story, that's what the Dragiri take as their trophies. It's neat stuff. And then on the far right is a new model for a very old idea that came up a long time ago. So all of the Dragiri models have got a Soul Warden, which is
Dragiri casts.
Dragiri cast, sorry. That have the Soul Warden, and it's a universally used model because it's very good in game at cast spells and it's useful for bringing up your elementals and things. Except it's a male model, and the Aircast narratively have always been a 100% feminine force. And so this topic came up last year where we were like, we should make a female Soul Warden so an Aircast player can do the proper narrative force. So we got our sculptor to start working it up, and not only did he create an amazing female Soul Warden, but he went ahead and sculpted different heads for that to do all of the casts. So the model kit that's going to come with a Soul Warden has that body, and then an Aircast head, a Firecast head, an Earthcast head, which leads you to believe that eventually there will be an Earthcast Soul Warden. And a Shadowcast head, which is actually personally my favorite because it's super creepy. It's like that faceless plate with like spider eyes on it. I dig it.
You keep talking about it, and it's like, I don't know if I want to see it, but I don't know if I want to see it.
Quick funny story is that there was also an additional head made for the Icecast because the sculptor did not know that storyline part. And I had to be like, we're not making the Icecast head because there's no, just like the Aircast needed the feminine Soul Warden,
Female.
there is no male, or there's no females there's no female Soul Wardens in the Icecast, so we don't need to make that head. It's cool looking, but we don't need it. Yep. Somebody said something about cookies. So speaking of re-sculpts, so the Brood have been one of the oldest line of models in Dark Age. And some of them are amazing. They still hold paint to this day. We've got one of the Russian artists puts up Brood models constantly, and they're gorgeous. He's 10-year-old models, and he's making them sing. Doesn't change the fact that I want a new Brood. And so looking here, we have on the far left, we've got the first of the Grists. Yep. That is a bio cannon attachment that he has there. So the original Grist he's carrying a gun. Like he actually has this big like metal thing that he's walking around with. And in the Brood, everything is this kind of evolved, bio-engineered, she sees something and goes, that's neat, and let's create a thing. But she doesn't have a whole lot of like, I don't know, forges in the swamp. There's not a lot of factories to go like, hey, make me some bullets. So we decided that the route for most of the brood is going to be this: everything is bioengineered. So their weapon is, his weapon is literally grown to his arm. You can't see on this shot, but his back, the backpack that looks like it's feeding ammunition to the biocannon. The feeding thing, by the way, looks like a large intestine. It's got that kind of veiny ripple to it. And the back is all of these like clusters and blisters that you could almost like see it kind of going blah, 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 to feed the gun. That's a technical term. Blah, 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 blah.
Sound effects are best.
Sound effects. Every time you play, do you do it? Because I do.
I know.
So there in the middle is the my favorite version of the re-sculpts of the broodhounds. So the broodhounds are an ancient model, and I lovingly call them jumping death potatoes because that's kind of, they look little spiky potato things, and they're cool and they're awesome in game and everybody loves them. I wanted it to be terrifying, and I think our sculptor hit it on the nose. It's a dog joke
With a rolled up newspaper?
Yeah.
Nice one. Okay.
But this is just this giant mouth full of teeth, these huge claws. It's got like hair and quills and feathers. You can actually see that this critter, this baseline form, was the broodmare went, I want some of this, I want some of this, I want some of this, I want some of this. Swan. And so it was that's how the broodhound came about. She took a bunch of aspects, created this thing, and it's a killy little monster. And so that's how this I love the fact that the broodhound is this kind of a mulget predator. And then on the far right, another one of the old models that have been around forever. In fact, it's on the cover of one of the original Dark Age books, 12 years ago, is the Ratchet. And from the original Brahm art, where they're carrying a club and a little sword in their sheath, our new aspect, again, he does have a club. It's not growing out of him, but you could tell that it's made out of like leather and sinew. They kind of shaped this like resiny hook thing and then kind of glued it all together, and I picked it up and started beating people with it. But one of the biggest problems that I always had is that, again, there's no forges in the swamp, and although you could pick up a sword and just learn how to use it.
Pretty much like the saw blade we saw earlier.
Exactly. This is an opportunity for us to say, well, if the broodmare says swords cut and swords are cool and swords are better than claws, let's just grow him a sword. And so he's got that cool, sword blade that comes out of his arm. And you can look, you can't really get too close on the render, but there's actual musculature that goes along the sides. You can see it that it probably like retracts when he's in chill mode. Not that I think that like Ratchet's just like Netflix and chill.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So, I know you guys are excited about the Cult of Decay. So we're not going to talk about them. No, okay. So here are 3 of the renders for the Cult of Decay. On the far left, actually, I'll go ahead and start in the middle because she's kind of the boss. That is Mother Blazon. Blazon's been around in the lore for quite a while, and in one of the recent books, she got half blowed up. A neutron bomb went off, and it buried her under half a mountain, and her arm and half her face got all like burnt away. But the radiation from that bomb awakened something in her, and when she eventually got unearthed,
clawed her way out
with the help of some new friends, she discovered that all those voices in her head that she had been hearing for years that kind of told her the future sometimes, well, that was always just the dead talking to her. Who knew? And now those voices are super clear. And with the help of another substance that was unearthed with her called necrosis mold, this black slime, she has discovered that she can animate the dead. So on the far left there, we have what is called a flesh echo. Flesh echoes are stolen or recovered bodies that have been stuffed with necrosis mold, and their mouth sewn shut so it won't get out because it moves. The necrosis mold, I'm going someplace else. And it is psychogenically reactive. So through her psychic powers, she can kind of tell these animated meat sacks to go do stuff. And so they're not. They're basically like fungus slime zombies.
Yep.
But
I like animated meat sacks.
Animated meat sacks. Yeah. So these fungus slime zombies or animated meat sacks by themselves are, they're dead bodies. Don't have a whole lot of offense to them. They can't even like bite you like regular zombies because their mouths are sewn shut.
Not a lot of martial prowess.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah. So what they've done is they're like, well, if they're gonna flail at you, let's make it let's make it spiky and pointy. So they've driven just chunks of metal and spikes and things through these bodies, and be like, all right, now you're pokey, go. And so those flesh echoes, they all are decorated with all these little stabby bits, and they just kind of move forward and start, slashing at you. And because, well, frankly, they are a sack filled with horrible goo, something bad happens when they die.
Yep.
So.
One thing you didn't mention, I think we've got 6 different sculpts for those, which are all from various sort of.
They are all designed
forces.
from the Forsaken and Outcasts and the Scarred to be basically these various bodies that were stolen or recovered and then brought back into the real world because they're serving mommy. So Mother Blazin has said, "Come, my children, fight, fight, fight," and so they put them through these little ceremonies and raise up these dead guys. So all 6 of the models that come in the Flesh Echo box, they're all recognizably trooper models from other factions.
Yep, from the Forsaken Road. So
Yeah.
This one's a Ravage.
This one's a Ravage. You can tell by the weird hat. I shouldn't say weird. The iconic hat. The iconic Ravage hat. So then on the far right, so that's like the undead style of these undying meat sacks of the Cult of Decay. And then the other half of the Cult of Decay storyline revolves around the Blazing Path, which is the worship and the being energized by that neutron bomb that went off. So the Cult of Decay also has this thing. What's it? Oh, okay. The Cult of Decay also has this kind of lean toward nuclear energy. So they run around trying to find some of the storage, plutonium stores and fuel rods and things to help further things along. They also have non-undead models. Despite what he looks like, he's alive. That's he's just a little bit. That's one of the Fallouts. The Fallouts are a unit type that are soaked in radiation. The concept art for them actually has them glowing in patches and things, and they are just crazy mad and super tough because their body's mostly dead from the radiation, but they're so irradiated that when you get close to them, you get weaker. So they're these horrible that side of the cult is all about getting up, getting in your face, and giving you a bunch of penalties while I'm tearing you apart. All right, so we only have a couple minutes. I was just poked about a couple minutes, but I wouldn't mind taking some questions and stuff because this is what this is all about. Yes,
Kevin.
So does that mean that Blazon's going to move from being unaligned to aligned to that?
Well, kind of like we did with Father Johann, how there was also Saint Johann and Father Johann. There's still original Blazon is still in the book, so if you still want to use a Blazon, but it's the same way as you can't field them both at the same time. There is also the Mother Blazon model that is Cult of Decay.
Zach?
With the progression of your models, are you going to have more scenic faces like you have with the Earthcast renders and their current Earthcast model?
Some of that depends on the sculptor. We've got a couple of sculptors that really, really love using them, and then we've got a couple others that just like doing flat feet. So I might urge some things that way one way or the other, but a lot of time I leave it up to the sculptor to come up with really cool dynamic poses.
Yep. One of the things, particularly with the Jugiri and some of the Jugiri we've released recently, to get that cool looking model, the cool dynamic posing onto a 50 mil base or an 80 mil base, that sort of thing, it requires that larger scenic element to it. So that's what we've added in there. So to try and avoid, occasionally in the past we've had things where it's like the feet stick on the edge of the base. So
that weird little, here's the lip and my toes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So moving forward, if it looks like the render might end up like that, the sculptor's going to put it up on a scenic base.
Yeah.
Or adjust the pose slightly.
Yeah. Any other questions? Oh.
So with all of the cool new things that we're seeing snippets of on the way, timing-wise, can we say at this point?
Yes. The Scarred book is coming out at Gen Con is our release date for that.
Yep.
And there will be a handful of the new Scar models that come along with it, and some of the unit boxes of the re-sculpted models as well. But the Brood and the scarred new sculpts and re-sculpts, they're planned from now up until the
From then until
basically we're going to just keep moving forward on that direction. So definitely starting in August, you'll start seeing these new guys.
Yep.
Zach?
That's a really awesome question. After you get done like updating everything, possible new faction thing?
We are, back in 2012, we added the Kukulkani as a brand new faction that no one knew was coming. There's nothing that says that we can't do that again, but really, our focus right now is to make sure that all of the factions get the love that they need to all be competitive, to all be balanced amongst each other, and to really feel our world out before we just decide it's time for a lizard faction or something along those lines. Not that that's actually happened. That was just a word that popped out of my head.
Yep. It could just as well have been monkeys.
Yeah, exactly. Like crazy monkey faction.
Or soap. It could have been that. I don't know. But
Right.
it's the key thing for us right now is making sure. I'm just going to skip right back to the beginning of the Dark Age part. Our Wrath of Kings range has always been in box sets. It's always been it's straightforward for retailers to order and for people to know, okay, the faction starter set is where I start. Moving to box sets, everything to the box units and that sort of thing is still that, and it's going to take a while for people to fully grasp that. For retailers to fully grasp that, for distributors to get on board with that. So we don't want to throw too much new stuff out there. We want to keep everything, keep moving through. There'll be the cool, fun, additional things that happen. But yeah, we want to solidify everything and continue to grow on that solid foundation.
All right, one last question, then we should probably be done. Nobody?
Okay.
All right, I think actually we're good. Thanks everybody for coming out. And if you have anything else, come see us or email us.
Oh.
Hello! How's everybody doing? So we are live here with Brian Steele from Cool Mini or Not to take your questions now after the stream. So let's get him lined up here. And we are ready to rock and roll. So shoot some questions out here, guys. We had a really cool sort of like sit-in panel, like the Q&A. It was really neat. It was very like, well, I got a preview of it yesterday, and then I got to see it today. And today was really cool because I think you guys used a lot of what we asked yesterday to like populate some of what you said. So like talking about the retailers and how you guys have designed stuff for the retailer packs, all of that was just, I think, super useful for you guys to hear because I think it tells you guys what you guys can do out there to try and make the game more prevalent where you live. So we got a first question from Gary Arkham. Estimated dates for all the factions to have a starter box set.
So if everything goes well and nothing gets held up on the sculpts or anything like that, should be Gen Con, we should get both the Scarred and the new Brood faction starter at that time.
Cool. And it'll be 500 point starters like the other ones?
Yep, just like everything else. 500 points, $60 price point, $60 American price point.
Right, yep.
And that will give every faction a starter set, and then in the case of the Dragiri, they'll have all for their sub-factions. Now, I mentioned all sub-factions. We are not doing an Earthcast faction starter until they get more models.
Right.
Because to try and put together a faction starter that's just the Earthcast models right now would be... it would be premature because we would be forced to use just those 3 models, and that's not cool.
No, of course. What's cool with the Dragiri in particular, though, is because of the way the Grand Arbiter rule works, you can actually release a new cast, and it doesn't really affect their ability to be used in the game because you can always slot those models up to 150 points into some other cast, basically. Yeah. So there's enough. I think you said there was going to be enough, though, that if you really wanted to, you could play them by themselves?
Absolutely. We did a lot of playtesting where it was just take those 3 models. Their availability is based on the fact that you could easily do a 500 or 750 point game with Graken and a handful of those, like at least 2 of those boxes, and that's enough to get you easily into that kind of competitive area. You won't have nearly as much extra stuff.
Yeah, there's no flex really.
But I guess you kind of do because you could always Grand Arbiter in 150 points from something else.
That's true. Yeah. So like, and especially when that new stuff's starting to get rolled out for Icecast, you guys saw the new Soul Splitters. Mm-hmm. You guys saw it was the new Blizzards too, the double axes and stuff.
Yeah.
And there is an Earthcast, whatchamacallit, Soul Warden?
Well, so rules for them are not out yet.
Right, but you could use a Soul Warden from another cast, I guess,
Yeah.
because they're 150 points, and just have that model as well. So you've got a whole bunch of options, like 4 new stuff that can then just pop in. We got Marcus Takao asking a question: are the master resin models for Wrath of Kings available to the customers at some point? He likes the current plastics, but would love to have some of the characters in like that extra crisp detail, like a painter's version.
So the resin masters, they existed for a while. We were selling them as like art pieces,
Right.
things like that, kind of before the game really took off. I know they are still in existence, but there's no plan to recast any. When we moved the line over to plastic, all the resources went into cutting those dies and getting it set up that way. There might still be some in the warehouse lurking around in boxes, but it's not something that we can count on.
Right. So it could be like, you could have a conversation about maybe making it a convention thing. You take to a convention and be able to sell. But it's not, I guess the answer is it's not widely available enough that you could put it online and it'd blow through so fast when you'd be gone.
Exactly. Well, we got another thing.
When might Scarred get their new cult? From John Woe.
From John Woe himself, one of the immortals. So their new cult, the Cult of Decay, comes out of their book. So that comes out in Gen Con.
So Gen Con, what year?
Oh, this year.
Okay,
so
this
here
year,
in a
so
couple months.
2017.
Yeah.
So August 2017.
Yeah.
It sounds like they get their new cult. And what's the plan for that cult? Does it start with like a starter set and then add stuff into the range from there?
It'll
or?
be set up more like the Forsaken, where you can, because the way that the Scarred are going to be set up is that there's this unaligned part called the Horde that everybody gets to choose from.
Okay.
And then you pick a cult faction if you want to gain access to those specialist models.
So the Horde would be things like Buzzblades, Harpies, all the stuff that's kind of like the generic stuff now.
Exactly. And then if you wanted to field, like let's say I decide I want to play Decay Cult, then you would grab one of the Decay unit boxes, the faction starter which has like Blazon, a couple of other things that I'm not allowed to mention yet.
Dave's not here. What are you talking about? Dave's not here.
Because I know better. At this point, I know better. Oh, this is from Dave. Don't worry. But the idea being now with specifically with the Decay Cult, there are 2 extra boxes that are unit box so something like the Toxic Cult will have basically 1 box that has just about everything, and then it'll be like, if there's any big monsters like the Toxic Abomination will be a separate
box, yeah, because it's a huge it's a giant armor model.
Exactly. Something like the Decay Cult, though, because we wanted to do something special with the Flesh Echoes, where there's 6 different sculpts to field.
Right.
That's a box in and of itself. That's not going to come. I didn't want to make the Decay box, 14 models, and then be like, well, this is our only $90 box that we do.
Right.
So we split it up a little bit, to 2 or 3 boxes, and then that gives a little more leeway to get the new stuff. What will be ready at Gen Con, I don't know. I know there's some things already being spun up and cast, but if I don't have everything for a box, I don't want to do it. I don't want to piecemeal.
You want to
anything.
piecemeal,
It's going to be boxes alone.
Cool. I'd love to introduce, Gary asks, I'd love to introduce this game to my local store. What can I say to really make them buy the concept and the game style? What's unique about Dark Age?
The big thing with Dark Age, I would say the 2 things that make it unique is we have the malfunction system.
Right.
So in the narrative of the world, everything's falling apart. The world is harsh, radiation is harsh, weather is bad, technology has been.
Can't rely on anything.
No, the world.
Let's stick with the nail.
The world is trying to kill you, and the more advanced and moving parts your stuff, your weapons, your attacks have, you have a different rating in there, a malfunction rating, and that rating becomes greater based off of that complexity of the object. Somebody who has, like you said, a nail in a board, that's not going to malfunction on most folk unless they've got like weird robotic arms holding it. But you have something like a revolver, that's going to have a malfunction number that if you miss really badly, something catastrophic has happened.
I've found that the bigger the possible reward for a thing in Dark Age, the higher the risk factor is for using it.
Yeah, Dark Age is a really big risk versus reward, and some of our missions and some of our scenarios are built that way too. It's I could possibly score 2 points if I forego doing any fighting and all I do is try and focus on my objectives and hope that my opponent doesn't kick me in the junk on the way in. So
I guess my unsolicited answer to your question too, as a guy not working for Cool Mini or not, is the big selling points for Dark Age for me are it's a game in a box. So if you buy the starter set or any of the faction starter sets, you can play a legit size MCI size game with 1 purchase. Everything's free, so the rulebook's free online. Like the 2017 Master Rules, which just came out today, are free for download on the website right now, as are all the cards for the game. So if you just want to go check it out and try the game with proxies or something like that to see if you like it or not, it's ready to rock and roll. So from a retailer point of view, he can just carry those starter sets in the beginning if he wants to try it out and know exactly that what he's putting in the hand of a customer, they can crack open and play on the table. And from you guys as consumers' point of view, you can try a game either with the 2-player starter, which is the one I'd recommend because it's 2 armies in one go. So like if you and a buddy both throw in $30, because how much is the 2-player starter? 70, so $35. You've got a game, and you can try it right out of the box, ready to rock and roll. And it's really easy to stock because you can just say, hey, which one do you like the look of? Here's the box for them, and you try the game out. And then the other half is there's never a time when you buy a model, typically, unless you buy too many of them, that you can't just use in your army. If it's from the same faction, typically, as long as it's not from a sub-faction or something like that, and even the sub-factions, often there's a rule that lets you take those models in your army. You can just play with whatever you like. So there's no like forced composition rules that say you can't play with X or you can't play with Y unless it's like in abundance. You can just take the models that you like the look of and play.
Well, and some of there are very, very few models from some of the older rule sets that might say to have this, you have this.
You have to have
we
that,
are
yeah.
actively getting rid of
that's
that.
being So like by Gen Con next year, that's purged from the game basically.
By Gen Con this year.
By Gen Con this year, then it's right here. That'll be everything.
No more of the you have to buy this model to have this model to have this model.
I like that because that means I can use Buzzblades in my Cult of the Heretic without having to take Dominique. Right?
Yeah.
You heard it here. It's been promised. It's been promised.
Now, are you old with the followers? They're still running on the Forsaken rules.
I know. I'm just saying.
So,
you update them for me. You update them for me.
So they're getting the updated Buzzblades.
Eventually, apparently, I will be the last guy that has to take something to take something else.
Because of him, he just did that to me. Yeah. No. It is.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
I forgot that she has a different card for the followers. It's not the Scarred card.
Yeah, that's right.
But so the goal is to eventually get rid of the you have to have this to have this.
So make it as easy as possible for you guys to buy what you like and then play a game with it. So that's my 2 cents as a consumer, as a guy I played Dark Age since the beginning, since the early 2000s, and I've played multiple incarnations of it. And my big pro for that game always, and it's obviously gotten better with time because it didn't used to be they got the rules for free, right? It didn't used to be they got cards for free. Is they've made it as easy as possible for you to try the game, put it on the shelf, and then play it. So I think we got time for probably 1 or 2 more. We got Blade Wolf asking, did I miss the Wrath of Kings portion of the panel and Wrath of Kings in the future? Will there still be 5 main kingdoms, or will the Dark Horse new faction that may come into play later? So if you want to watch the panel, go back to the beginning of the video, because the first half of the panel is all the Wrath of Kings stuff. You can see some new models and stuff too, and I'll let you handle the second half of that question.
So I know personally I would love, only because I love even numbers, which that sounds so stupid, but
right.
5 is a strange number to me, and I prefer even numbers. I would love to add a 6th faction at some point. I cannot attest as to whether or not that's something that's on the near horizon, future horizon. That comes down to decisions made higher on the totem pole than myself.
They've never said that there's only 5 kids of the Ancient King. No one's ever really counted them, I don't think. I've read most of the fluff, but no one said the Ancient King didn't have more kids.
And there's nothing that says that the 6th faction has to be a kid.
That's true. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a Scion King necessarily either, does it? It could just be anybody.
It could be another force that is involved.
Right.
So there's lots of options, and I would love to expand on that later, but I don't at this time I can't say yes, just because I don't have that. I don't have that feather in my cap yet.
It's more of a never say never.
Yeah,
I guess,
exactly.
Than anything else. Yeah. Well, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that, guys. It looks like we're run just down on time. So thanks, you guys, for watching. There will be lots more of this coming up. Now, the next thing I'm doing today, after I've just filmed this panel and pushed it live to you guys and on the Q&A with Brian, is I'm filming the Immortals tournament that I'm playing in. So it starts at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will be recording the games I play in, pulling the card from my camera, running upstairs, pushing it to you guys, going backstairs and recording the next game, and then coming back and doing that all the way through till we're done Immortals. So the way Immortals works is there's a 3-round heat period basically to determine the top 4 players, and the top 4 players then go into the finals, which is single elimination to crown the Immortal. So it's at least 5 games, and yeah, it's going to be hardcore. So you get to see all 5 of the games I play. I might only get to play 3, and then you'll see the 4th one, which will be the finals.
Gary had asked the something to make your store by the concept. If you have a competitive scene in your store, guys that really want to go for that prize support, they want to go for that top-notch spot, show them the stuff about the Immortals. You show them those last 9 models that we made about people who won our World Championship Immortals games and turned them into part of the story. and you show that to some of your friends, they're like, wait, I can be a model? Be like, yeah, if you fight hard enough and you get your practice in, that store might be able to, kind of poke them and be like, well, yeah, we'll have Dark Age Night to start practicing for Immortals right now.
It is the coolest present we're doing. I have to say, like, being able to be made a character in a game and have a model sculpted of you. John Carter's going for the 2 times title. He's going to be there. It's true. He's gone in almost cold too. He's just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just talked to him yesterday. He's like, I'm just here to throw dice. Like, he hasn't played the game since the last Immortals. I'm pretty sure that he was in.
No, he played. No.
He got a guild on Friday. That's like his last game.
And he played at Gen Con last year.
Oh, he played Gen Con last year.
He was at a table next to me. Yeah. So, no, it's.
He's like, I'm going cold, baby. I'm representing. But we do have some former Immortals that show up because they get a cart. They get an open ticket basically from then on.
Yeah.
To come on. So the defenders can always go in and defend their title. And that's really it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll see you guys for more of this coming up. And until the next one, stay tuned. I'll be posting the event times. I'm on my Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram. So we'll see you then. Brian, thank you for answering the questions. And
Always.
We'll see you soon.